So we're going to demonstrate the application of a splint for a knee injury. Now, there's two ways that a knee may be, right? We may have a straight type injury, like we see here, or we may have a knee that's bent. The straight one is fairly simple. It's going to be just like our injury with the tib fib, with the lower leg, as far as we can use a pro splint or we can use the boards. So they also do make a pro splint that doesn't have the ankle. It's typically for the arm, but if I get that underneath and I secure the bone above and below, that also immobilizes that straight knee. So the straight knee is fairly straightforward, like I said, similar to the other skills of splinting the lower leg. So I'm going to show you the splinting of a bent knee. So in this case, we're going to say that our patient has that knee that's bent. You know, they're holding it as it hurts. So when we're coming in, just like all of our skills, we're going to ensure that we have our BSI on appropriate for the skill. As we come in, I'm going to have my partner hold manual stabilization of the knee. And so they're going to take kind of on both sides of the leg there. And then I'm going to come in and assess distal CMS. So we check for our pulse, and we can check that dorsalis pedis pulse or the posterior tibial pulse. Have them wiggle their toes and see if they can feel us pinching their toe. So once we assess CMS, we're ready to splint. So with our board splints, I'm going to need 2 of the medium-sized board splints, and we're going to make sure that we have the hard wood side and the padded board splint. So we're going to put the padded side towards the leg. We're going to, I'm sorry, right before I put those boards in there, I'm going to take one strap from the underside, and for this one, I'm going to just kind of let it hang over the top of the leg for now, and this will be used here in just a little bit. And then just like the elbow, we're going to come in at an angle over the legs, and I'm going to have my partner hold on each side, hold the boards in place. So this first strap that I had you put in place is going to create kind of a support underneath. And so we just tie the 2 boards together. We're going to tie that. It's going to pinch them slightly together, but it doesn't wrap over the knee. We want to avoid contact directly over the knee because that's where the injury is. Now the way that we tie this is going to be similar to the elbow. So my first strap is going to come from the underside, and it's going to fit right in that notch created by the lower portion of the leg and my board coming down. So once I have this strap, I'm going to go ahead and cross it, and we're going to go underneath the boards. And so when we pull this snug, I pull it slightly towards the leg, and we'll see that it creates an X. I'm basically figure 8ing around the boards. And now I can go ahead and tie my boards. Now with this one, just like with the elbow, we want to be very careful that I don't pull this side too tight, because when I squeeze on the top side, I don't want to create so much pressure that I start to cut off circulation. And so it is slightly relaxed on this lower portion, and that'll tighten up when I squeeze the top. So I take my second cravat, and I'm going to come up underneath where the leg meets the board. I'm going to cross them over, create my X, come down between the boards, and then figure 8 it over. And I'll have the camera guy come over in just a little bit, and I'll show you a close-up of that tie as soon as we're done with the splint. So once that last one's on, our knee is now immobilized, so our patient can be moved to the cot. With this particular one, because of this space underneath the knee, oftentimes we'll put a pillow kind of underneath to support that leg as we're transporting. And so then the last thing I need to do is check my CMS. So I check for my pulse. I'm going to assess to make sure they can wiggle the toes, and I'm going to check for sensation. So at that point, the skill would be done. And so I'll have the camera guy come in close, and I'm just going to show this top, the top tie here one more time just so that you guys can see it. So I come up from the underside of the leg where the leg meets the board. I'm going to take my straps and I'm going to cross them over. And I now come underneath, and so that creates my figure 8. And so we should see an X between the boards. Come around the top side, and now I can go ahead and tighten that board. If your cravat starts to loosen, one of the things you can do, it's the start of what we call a surgeon's knot. where you wrap it not once like you're tying a shoe, but a second time. And when you pull that tight, it actually has that, it grips on itself. So now you can pull that tight and then go ahead and make your knot. So that would be how we secure both of those straps on the top and the bottom using that figure 8.